Brother got dad's company because girls can't run business. Now I own his supply chain. The boardroom was silent except for the rhythmic ticking of the antique clock my father had installed years ago, a constant reminder of how time, like business, waits for no one. I sat at the far end of the polished mahogany table, watching as Michael, my older brother by 2 years, took his place at the head. The chair that should have been mine. It still bore the faint imprint of Dad's posture, though he'd been gone for 3 years now. I remembered the day everything changed with perfect clarity. Mom had just poured her usual cup of chamomile tea, its floral scent filling the kitchen where we gathered after Dad's funeral. That's when Uncle Gerald, Dad's business partner and closest confidant, delivered the verdict that would alter the course of our lives: Michael will take over the company. It's what your father wanted. Girls can't run businesses, Sarah. Even now, sitting across from my brother in this room filled with leather-bound chairs and judgmental portraits of past executives, I could feel the sting of those words. They weren't Uncle Gerald's alone. They were echoed in the nods of agreement from the board members, in the sympathetic yet condescending looks from Dad's longtime employees, in the way even Mom patted my hand and said, "It's probably for the best, dear." But life has a peculiar way of balancing scales, doesn't it? While Michael inherited the crown jewel, Empire Manufacturing, I found myself standing at the helm of something equally vital, the entire supply chain network that kept his kingdom running. It wasn't an inheritance or a gift. It was a testament to sleepless nights, strategic alliances, and a burning determination to prove every doubter wrong. The journey began innocently enough. After being effectively exiled from the family business, I took a position at Sterling Logistics, a mid-sized supplier to Empire Manufacturing. They welcomed me with open arms, unaware that beneath my professional smile lay a carefully crafted plan. Each morning, as Michael settled into Dad's office, I was already reviewing shipping schedules and negotiating contracts that would eventually give me leverage over his operations. My first major victory came during the Anderson steel crisis. Michael had dismissed my warnings about relying too heavily on a single supplier. "Leave the supply chain to the experts," he'd said dismissively during one of our rare meetings. But when Anderson faced unexpected labor strikes, Empire's production ground to a halt. While Michael scrambled to find alternative suppliers, I implemented contingency plans I'd been quietly developing for months. Through Sterling, I secured priority access to replacement materials, ensuring that other manufacturers could continue their operations while Empire struggled. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the industry. Here I was, supposedly incapable of running a business, orchestrating the very networks that determined my brother's success or failure. Yet the bitter taste of triumph was always tempered by memories of family dinners before Dad's passing. The four of us, Dad at the head of the table, Mom beside him, Michael and I facing each other, sharing stories of school achievements and business milestones. Those evenings felt like relics from another lifetime now. As months turned into years, my influence grew beyond mere logistics. I cultivated relationships with key players throughout the manufacturing sector, building a web of connections that made Sterling Logistics indispensable. Every handshake, every contract negotiation, every late-night strategy session brought me closer to my goal. Meanwhile, Michael's management style became increasingly erratic. He clung to traditional methods while the industry evolved around him, his decisions guided more by pride than practicality. Our mother tried to bridge the growing chasm between us, inviting us both to Sunday dinners that neither of us attended anymore. Her voice messages went unanswered, her concerned emails unopened. The family home, once filled with warmth and laughter, stood as a silent witness to our fractured relationship. Even Dad's favorite armchair remained untouched, gathering dust in the corner of his study. In the corporate world, however, our interactions were anything but warm. During quarterly reviews, Michael would present his performance reports with forced confidence, knowing full well that any misstep could be traced back to decisions I'd influenced through our shared supply chain. "You're playing games, Sarah," he accused during one particularly tense meeting. "This isn't about business anymore." He was right, though not in the way he thought. This was about proving worth in a system that had predetermined my failure. It was about shattering glass ceilings that had been reinforced by generations of patriarchal tradition. And yes, perhaps it was also about making Michael understand the gravity of that fateful decision made in Mom's kitchen all those years ago. The turning point came unexpectedly through Rachel Chun, a brilliant young engineer who approached me with an innovative solution for streamlining component delivery. Her proposal wasn't just technically sound, it represented a fundamental shift in how supply chains could integrate with manufacturing processes. As I reviewed her presentation, I saw not just a business opportunity, but a chance to redefine the very foundations upon which Empire Manufacturing operated. Implementing Rachel's system required cooperation from multiple levels of Empire's infrastructure, cooperation that Michael couldn't refuse without jeopardizing his entire operation. For the first time, I walked into Empire's headquarters not as the overlooked daughter, but as a crucial business partner whose expertise and resources were essential to their continued success. The corridors of Empire Manufacturing seemed different now. The same marble floors that had once felt cold under my feet during those first few weeks of exclusion now resonated with the measured click of my heels. Employees who had once avoided eye contact now greeted me with respect, some even seeking my advice on supply chain matters. The power dynamic had shifted, though not in the way anyone had anticipated. During implementation meetings, I watched Michael struggle to maintain his authoritative demeanor. His attempts to assert control over technical discussions often revealed gaps in his understanding of modern supply chain mechanics. In those moments, I saw flashes of the brother I used to know, the one who would sneak extra cookies from the jar and share them with me, the one who helped me practice presentations for school, the one who believed in fairness until the weight of family expectations pressed down upon him. Yet alongside these memories came the harsh reality of recent years. The missed promotions at Empire because it wouldn't look right having a woman in upper management. The whispered conversations about how I was too emotional for executive decisions. The countless times my suggestions were dismissed only to be praised when presented by male colleagues. Rachel's system proved transformative, reducing Empire's operational costs by 22% in its first year. Industry publications hailed it as a groundbreaking achievement, with articles frequently mentioning my role in its development. At industry conferences, I found myself fielding questions from executives who once doubted women's capabilities in business leadership. Their change in attitude, while gratifying, felt bittersweet against the backdrop of my family's broken dynamics. The most challenging aspect wasn't the professional victories or the industry recognition, it was maintaining a careful balance between business necessity and personal ethics. Every decision carried weight, each choice a potential ripple effect through Michael's company and by extension, our family legacy. Late at night, when the office emptied and the city lights cast long shadows across my desk, I often questioned whether this path was worth the cost of familial estrangement. Complicating matters further was the emergence of environmental concerns in manufacturing practices. As awareness grew about sustainable supply chain management, I found myself at the forefront of implementing green initiatives. These changes required significant investment and procedural overhauls, challenges that tested my resolve and Michael's patience. Our weekly conference calls became battlegrounds of wills, with each side defending their vision for the future of manufacturing. Through it all, Mom maintained her quiet vigil, her garden becoming a sanctuary where she nurtured life much as she tried to nurture harmony between her children. Her letters, though largely ignored, spoke of forgiveness and understanding, of remembering the love that once bound our family together. Sometimes, late at night, I would read them by the dim light of my office lamp, their words softening the edges of my determination. As Sterling Logistics expanded its influence, acquiring key positions in various supply chains across the manufacturing sector, I found myself facing new challenges. Competitors emerged, attempting to replicate our success model. Industry regulators began scrutinizing our market position, questioning whether our level of control constituted an unfair advantage. Each obstacle required careful navigation, each threat demanding innovative solutions that pushed the boundaries of traditional business practices. Particularly memorable was the acquisition of Davis Shipping, a move that initially seemed peripheral but proved pivotal in consolidating our supply chain dominance. The negotiations stretched over months, with sleepless nights spent analyzing financial statements and strategic alignments. When the deal finally closed, it completed a network that effectively controlled 80% of Empire Manufacturing's logistical needs. The power this granted was intoxicating yet terrifying, a responsibility that weighed heavily on decisions affecting thousands of jobs and millions in revenue. During this period, technological advancements presented both opportunities and threats. Automation promised efficiency gains but threatened traditional workforce structures. Implementing AI-driven logistics systems required delicate handling, balancing innovation with employment concerns. My team worked tirelessly to develop training programs that would help workers adapt rather than resist these changes. Watching seasoned professionals embrace new technologies reminded me of my own journey, the need to evolve while holding on to core values. Industry conferences became platforms for showcasing our achievements. Standing at podiums addressing hundreds of professionals, I sometimes caught glimpses of my younger self, unsure, underestimated, but fiercely determined. These moments were punctuated by encounters with old acquaintances who had witnessed my journey from the sidelines. Their congratulations carried undertones of apology, acknowledging past prejudices while celebrating current successes. The media attention brought mixed blessings. Feature articles in business journals highlighted our achievements, but personal profiles often focused on the family drama underlying our professional accomplishments. Journalists loved the narrative of sibling rivalry transformed into corporate chess, though they rarely captured the emotional complexity of the situation. Each interview request forced me to confront aspects of my story I preferred to keep private, yet public discourse created opportunities to advocate for greater diversity in business leadership. Perhaps most challenging were the ethical dilemmas that arose with increased power. Suppliers sought special treatment, competitors engaged in questionable practices, and internal pressures mounted to prioritize profit over principle. Maintaining integrity while navigating these waters required constant vigilance and unwavering commitment to core values. Late-night strategy sessions often ended with philosophical debates about the purpose of business beyond mere financial gain. Through it all, Rachel Chun remained a steadfast ally and innovator. Her subsequent projects pushed boundaries in supply chain technology, earning international recognition. Watching her succeed validated my decision to invest in talent regardless of conventional wisdom. Together, we developed systems that not only improved efficiency but enhanced transparency and accountability throughout the manufacturing process. The industry's landscape shifted dramatically as our innovations gained traction. Traditional power structures crumbled under the weight of technological advancement and changing consumer expectations. Manufacturing giants that had once scoffed at sustainability initiatives now scrambled to implement similar programs. Our early adoption of green practices positioned us as leaders in this transformation, drawing both admiration and resentment from established players. Partnerships evolved into something deeper than mere business arrangements. Collaborations with environmental organizations, educational institutions, and community groups created a network of support that transcended profit motives. These relationships reminded me why I had entered this field, not for revenge or validation, but to create meaningful change in an industry ripe for evolution. Yet amidst these professional triumphs, personal sacrifices accumulated. Friendships faded as work consumed more time. Holidays passed without celebration, birthdays blended into ordinary days. The apartment that should have been filled with laughter and life remained sterile and efficient, mirroring the corporate environment that dominated my existence. Moments of loneliness crept in during quiet evenings, when the hum of the city outside couldn't drown out the echo of choices made. The view from my office window showed the city awakening to another day. Streetlights blinked out as dawn painted the sky in shades of gold and rose. Below, delivery trucks began their routes, each vehicle carrying components that would eventually become part of Empire Manufacturing's products. The intricate dance of commerce unfolded beneath me, orchestrated by decisions made in rooms like this one, by people like me who understood the delicate balance of power and responsibility. Today's agenda included a critical meeting with international partners about expanding our green initiatives. The proposal on my desk represented months of research and negotiation, promising to reduce carbon emissions by 30% across participating companies. Yet as I reviewed the documents, my thoughts kept drifting to the upcoming family shareholder meeting, the first in 5 years where all parties would be present. Michael had sent the invitation last week, his formal tone masking underlying tension. Given recent developments, he'd written, it's imperative we discuss strategic directions. The phrase recent developments likely referred to our latest acquisition, a move that had effectively given us controlling interest in several key suppliers Empire relied upon. Business analysts had called it a masterstroke of strategic positioning, but I knew it was more than that. It was the culmination of years spent proving that capability knows no gender, that determination can reshape destinies. My assistant buzzed through the intercom, reminding me of the 9 o'clock call with European partners. As I gathered my notes, I caught sight of my reflection in the window, the tailored suit, the confident posture, the eyes that had seen too much yet remained resolute. This image bore little resemblance to the young woman who had once sat silently in board meetings, her contributions dismissed before they could be voiced. The transformation wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal, forged in the fires of adversity and ambition. The call proceeded smoothly, our partners enthusiastic about the proposed changes. Their willingness to embrace innovation served as a reminder of how far the industry had come since those early days when sustainability was considered a luxury rather than a necessity. As I concluded the discussion, noting the positive response, I realized how much of my identity had become intertwined with these achievements. Each successful initiative, each overcome obstacle, had built layer upon layer of proof against those who had doubted women's ability to lead in manufacturing. Back at my desk, I opened the folder containing details for the family meeting. The list of attendees read like a who's who of manufacturing royalty: cousins who had taken junior positions in Empire, uncles who had retired to advisory roles, and of course Michael. Most notable was Uncle Gerald's name, his health reportedly declining but his presence still expected. The man who had delivered that fateful pronouncement about girls and business would be there, witnessing the results of what he had deemed impossible. Preparation for this meeting had been meticulous. Financial reports, market analysis, and strategic proposals filled binders that lined my conference table. Yet among these documents lay something more personal: photographs from family gatherings before the rift, childhood drawings exchanged between Michael and me, letters from Dad discussing his hopes for the business. These items didn't belong in a corporate presentation, but their presence grounded me in the emotional reality beneath the business facade. The clock moved steadily toward noon, bringing me closer to the confrontation I had both anticipated and dreaded. Outside, the city continued its relentless pace, oblivious to the personal drama unfolding within its steel and glass towers. Delivery schedules ticked by, assembly lines churned out products, and somewhere in this vast network of commerce, Michael prepared to face the sister who had become both his greatest challenge and his most crucial ally. As I gathered my materials, preparing to leave for the meeting, my phone vibrated with an incoming message. It was from Rachel, brief but meaningful: "Remember why you started." Those 4 words encapsulated years of struggle, growth, and transformation. They reminded me that this journey wasn't just about proving doubters wrong or claiming a position of power, it was about creating a legacy that transcended gender biases and family politics. The elevator descended to the lobby, each floor bringing me closer to the moment of truth. Through the glass doors, I could see the black car waiting to take me to the meeting. The driver held the door open, his expression professionally neutral, unaware of the storm of emotions brewing behind my composed exterior. As I settled into the seat, the familiar New York streets rolling past my window, I knew that today would mark another chapter in this complex narrative of family, business, and personal redemption. The car turned onto Fifth Avenue, the iconic buildings giving way to the more traditional architecture of our family's corporate headquarters. The Empire Manufacturing Building loomed ahead, its Art Deco facade gleaming in the afternoon sun. For the first time in years, I approached it not as an outsider looking in, but as an equal whose influence shaped its very foundation. The doorman recognized me immediately, his greeting warmer than protocol demanded, reflecting the changing perceptions within the company's walls. Stepping into the marble-floored lobby, I noticed subtle differences from my last visit. Portraits of female executives now hung alongside those of their male counterparts. Sustainability awards displayed prominently in glass cases spoke to the changes rippling through the organization. These visual markers of progress served as reminders that while battles remained to be fought, significant ground had been gained. The elevator ride to the executive floor seemed longer than memory served. Reflections of my determined expression stared back from the polished metal doors, accompanied by ghostly images of those who had doubted my capabilities. Each floor indicator lighting up represented not just physical ascent but metaphorical elevation, from dismissed daughter to indispensable industry leader. When the doors opened, Michael stood waiting, his posture rigid but his eyes betraying a mixture of apprehension and reluctant respect. Gone was the cocky confidence of our youth, replaced by the weariness of someone who had weathered storms both external and internal. "Sarah," he acknowledged, stepping aside to let me precede him into the conference room. The space had changed little since Dad's time, though technological upgrades hinted at evolving practices. Around the table sat faces ranging from curious to guarded, each representing a stake in this family drama. Uncle Gerald occupied his usual seat, his frail frame seeming smaller against the high-backed chair. His gaze met mine with an intensity that suggested he understood the significance of this gathering better than most. As I took my place, organizing my materials with deliberate care, I felt the weight of history pressing down. This room had witnessed countless decisions that shaped our family's legacy, many of them excluding voices like mine. Today, however, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation, not just for business discussions, but for the reckoning that had been years in the making.